What's up, humans? Welcome to the Human Music Podcast. I'm Luke Rain. My co-hosts are Tesco and Rip Kenny, and we are all music producers, artists, and producer coaches. This show is where we discuss all things music production and interview amazing creatives about their origins, their process, and whatever else comes up. This week is episode 100. That's right, we made it to 100, called Alter on Music Release Strategies. Alter is back on the show. He was here for episode 41 and was visiting Rip Kenny's Oregon studio, so he dropped in for an update. We discussed release schedules, releasing albums versus singles, optimizing his life for putting out new music, abundance versus scarcity mindset, taking care of mental health, finding the space to gain perspective on your songs, vocal writing techniques, collaborating with Rip Kenny, balancing songwriting versus production, and templates versus randomness. We covered a lot. The song of the week that you hear behind me is Alter's V for My Vendetta, which you can get in the links down below in the description. And there's also a link to a complete Alter Spotify playlist with all of his tunes on it. And you can support our sponsors while you're down there. Dojo TV, that's free producer live stream classes from the Producer Dojo Senseis. Tesco's Patreon, where you can get access to his private Discord, track feedback, private lessons, and more. The weekly download, where you can learn from our mentor, Il Gates, and his private weekly group lessons, and get access to over 250 more episodes in the archive for just $20 a month, and guest practices, where you can learn from Seth Drake at the Approach Institute. He's the best engineer we know, and your first class over there is free. You can get more episodes, socials, and free sound packs at thehumanmusicpodcast.com. But let's get on into this episode.
Hello, people of Earth. This is Tesco with Rip Kenny and Trap Jesus, and you're listening to the Human Music Podcast. Woo!
Human Music Podcast. I like it. What's up, humans? Welcome back to the Human Music Podcast. Not that other one.
No, the not Human Music Podcast.
Not a Human Music Podcast.
No.
It's the.
Yo,
check it out, guys. This is episode 100.
And who dat?
We made it to triple digits.
Zero.
Woo! Look at us go.
Wow. Big wow.
Long ways.
Stopping.
I'm clapping for y'all.
100 times.
That's impressive. To do 100 of anything, man.
Hey, thanks, bro.
For real.
Glad to have you on for the Hundo episode here.
I didn't even realize this would be 100, but it is fitting.
That's crazy.
Yeah, right. You gotta keep it 100.
The Human Music Podcast, the Century Club.
Woo!
Yeah. Hey.
Exactly.
Making history with Alter.
Yeah.
How's it going, man?
That guy hiding behind Rip Kenny over there. that's our friend Alter. You may remember him from his previous episode, but we got him back. He was so cool. We got him back on the podcast.
Well, as you mentioned, it's actually the dimension of your podcast that brought me to this location at this point in time. So we're living in the Human Music Podcast timeline right now.
That's absolutely true.
That makes sense to me.
That's so funny.
That's pretty perfect. Yeah. You guys met on that podcast. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's true.
I hadn't heard a tune of his before, and then I was like, oh shit, this might be my favorite music of any guest we've had on this show.
Right.
And here we are.
I'm gonna cry. That was too nice. That was too nice. Yeah. I don't deserve that. That's not real.
Well, listen to what we've been making this weekend, though.
Yeah. Well,
damn, yo. So I just checked, and you were on for episode 41. So it was whopping 59 episodes ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, over a year. Fuck.
Yeah. And I was the worst reception ever in my basement, it kept lagging and doing that alien voice.
Yeah, so that's perfect.
Now you have me. So that's what was happening. You guys were just simulating me last time, but then through the simulation, I've now come to be in full HD here in 4K Studio Land.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're gonna read the text subtitles and we're gonna recreate the conversation a year ago in HD.
I just remember thinking how I just want to always punch previous versions of myself when I do podcasts because I'm just like, wow, you're just so arrogant, and that happens every single time. And I always think that I'm like coming back to a podcast more humbled, and it's never true. It's never the case.
Nah, why?
So,
this is your episode. You're supposed to talk all this shit.
Talk all that shit.
Yeah. This is the alter episode. It's episode 100, baby.
That's crazy.
Double whammy.
Honestly, I'm just honored to be here. This can't be my episode, but like we'll figure out. We'll go in on whatever. I'm here for it. You guys tell me what do you want to do today?
Man,
I wanted to take a nap,
catch up.
so I did that, and then I woke up and I had like 5 minutes to get to this podcast. So yeah, I mean, stay awake.
Stay awake.
Nice.
Keep
Good
me
goal.
awake, guys.
Good goal.
I stayed up too
cheers
late
to
last
that.
night, and I basically have to be on a flight at that time tomorrow morning. So that 5 a.m. flight.
Ooh. Where are you going, mate?
Ooh.
Going out to Colorado.
Oh, what part?
Yeah, I'm gonna be staying in Longmont, which is
I
like
know. I'm familiar. Hell yeah.
For those who aren't, it's kind of by Boulder-ish, outside of the Denver area. But yeah, it'll be my first time hanging out in Colorado. I'm actually really excited. I've had a lot of layovers at the Denver airport, and I always like looked out the window like, someday Colorado, you and me are gonna hang out.
And this is that day, but you're gonna be sleeps.
I mean, I got like
On the
9
flight.
days out there. Oh, shit,
Hey.
I'm gonna be asleep on that flight. I don't know what I'm gonna do if I don't.
No, that's a good flight to sleep on. I can't confirm. That's like perfect nap distance. Honestly.
Yeah.
I was telling Evan about this story how Tesla's laboratory was in Colorado and the Atmospheric Research Center for the United States is in Boulder because it is the most electrically charged place in the US apparently. And so yeah, it's not in Boulder per se, but it's like super near there is where they were conducting all the Tesla coil experiments and stuff. So super weird. But if you go into like Longmont, you'll feel it for sure, man. There's like this literal electricity in the air. And if it rains, it's like there's like almost a 50% chance you'll get lightning, I feel like.
Wow.
So yeah,
Damn.
it's pretty crazy. But it feels like Zeus's house. Like I feel like, or like maybe like his like punk like teenage son or something.
Yeah.
Is that Hercules? Is that Hercules?
Yeah, I think so. Well,
Okay.
I think that dude had a lot of illegitimate kids running around.
Yeah. I guess when you're like a god, yeah, you just kind of like.
He's the Genghis Khan of gods.
Yeah, Zeus fucks.
Zeus fucks.
He did it as a swan and as impersonating somebody's husband. He didn't give a fuck.
Yeah,
Zeus was
that's
dirty.
tricky
Not a
son
role
of a
model.
bitch.
Not a role model,
Not a
no.
role model.
So he hangs out in Colorado. That makes sense. I mean,
Zeus needs to get me too.
they're out there. No, there's this like creepy ass like because Boulder's like 6,000 feet, and then there's like mountains that are up obviously much higher than that are almost like 10,000. It seems like somewhere range, and there's like abandoned mines and stuff, and it's just so empty out there. It's crazy. I don't know, but I'm excited for you, man. It's spring right now, kind of. So yeah, it should be like sunny and. Oh no, they might have snow. I think my friends there
there'll
right
probably
now.
still be snow and stuff. I'll bring some good boots and a coat, but I think like it
Definitely.
was funny. Like last week, I looked and it was like today 4 degrees, high of 20. Next week 66.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's when I'm showing up.
Yeah. Shit. No, spring there's beautiful. It turns really green and lush. But yeah. Anyway.
Nice.
Colorado,
Yeah,
man.
There's a bunch of good music out there, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. Wow.
I mean, it's like the bass scene is crazy out there. You know, a lot of dope artists out there. A lot of the Producer Dojo communities out there too. So I've been hitting up my people like, yo, I'm finally gonna be in town. What you doing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, since we have you, we might as well get caught up on what you've been doing since our last episode with you.
Yeah.
So you want to
Jump in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give us a
Enough
little-
enough about travel advisories.
Colorado. I just really want to endorse Colorado because of the electricity. I think
Yeah.
it's really cool. I
This
just wanted to give them a
episode
shout
brought
out.
to you by
This
the
is a
state
paid
of
sponsorship.
Colorado.
Yeah.
This is punk teenage sons.
Exactly. Okay. Man, no, I really feel that. Well, yeah, man, I don't even know. I guess like this, like it's probably when we did before the last podcast, but since around that point, things have just gotten super like fast. I guess I'm just every single day is something new, a new project or working with somebody. And I just feel this weird, mental state between scarcity and abundance that like drives me to the point of insanity. So some days I feel really scarce and I'm like, oh, I don't like, there isn't going to be enough time. So like, I better get it all in while I can. Like if this opportunity's here, I better take it, or I better like just seize the moment as much as possible, because I almost feel like it's never going to be the same tomorrow. And then like inevitably tomorrow comes and it somehow sustains that. But what ended up happening is I feel like I shot about 20 videos, like maybe 10 for myself last year, and then a bunch for clients, and then made a bunch of music too. Like I released 16 tracks in 2021, and like, yeah, an album, like a mixtape, and I was doing music videos for some of them, and like starting to prototype a lot of the TikTok content, and just doing a lot more vlogging stuff and editing from my phone more. And so I was doing it like almost daily Instagram, just like story post, but it would be of whatever I was working on. And so I have 150 15-second edits of my days that I'm planning to put into like a more long form piece of content, I guess. So I'm on my way to California currently to live again with my friend Wilson. And
is he a volleyball?
Wilson, yes.
Is he a volleyball? Yes.
Wilson, they like the volleyball, and then currently guest account on IG, and yeah, we stayed together for a month in January, like December. It was, I guess, into only a few days into January, mostly December. Got to dodge the winter snow in Hollywood, and it was the first time I've ever been able to leave the Seattle area during the winter. And so it was a little bizarre for me because I wasn't around my family, but then it was exhilarating because obviously I'm getting sun in December and my body was really feeling that.
Yeah, I feel you, dude. I went to Mexico and Guatemala for February, and then I'm back in Seattle. Like, damn, it's cold and dark. What am I doing here?
Yeah,
much as I love the town.
So you mentioned you released like a ton of music. I remember last time we had you on, it was, I don't think, not too long after you released the breakup story.
Yeah.
And so like going from that, which is like nearly the same amount of songs, to releasing 16 singles, like how did that work for you? And like how do you feel like those two projects and like styles of releasing music were like beneficial or not?
Yeah, the albums are hard, and I think I wanted to push myself when I did the breakup story to just be creative and keep something that was consistently like a body, because I knew that I didn't want to come back to that energy throughout the year. It was just mostly a moment of inspiration. And then doing the singles this last year was really effective for a lot of different reasons, and the main one was that it does increase the streams on your older records if you're consistently releasing music. And so it gives you this kind of algorithmic boost, and then merging them into like a month-to-month sort of basis, there is this sense of the deadline or the abundance/scarcity mindset thing again, where it's always, I want to get the next release into pipeline, and I feel good if I have a release in pipeline, and if there isn't one coming out, I feel like almost like I'm getting a free flight, and I'm not taking the flight. I'm not taking the opportunity. It's like if someone was like, hey, I got some tickets for you. You want to fly to Hawaii today for free? And you're like, no, man, I'm good. That's what I felt like I was doing if I wasn't releasing every 3 weeks. And so I really just pushed myself to I never put anything out that I didn't like or that it was, rushed or anything from a writing perspective. But I feel like the sacrifices that I made did come through in the engineering, honestly. I think that's where I just kind of let things slide a little more than normal this last year. But then as far as at the end of the year, the summary on Spotify, whatever they call it, the Wrapped, Spotify Wrapped. Yeah, it was more streams for the amount of listeners that I had versus the last year. So there was like the listeners that were there were listening to more music and more passionately. And then I wasn't running any ads this last year. So the year before that I was doing, some ads, and I had a lot of blog stuff going on. And this year was basically just cold upload to my pipeline and don't do any promotion. I didn't do any email lists. I didn't do anything. I literally just wrote music and filmed content.
Good God, that is the life.
It was just, but I mean, it hurt, in other ways, like, cause you're watching your monthly listeners, or at least in my case, fall. And I knew that like behind the scenes, it was creating a more passionate following and a more real following. But like the dopamine high from seeing the short-term crash is just kind of like, that's uncomfortable, you know.
But, like, you have to take solace in the fact that even happened at all. Like if you went from all this promotion to none, and like you had, like, you basically proved the fact that you have a established fan base that will like continue to seek out and enjoy what you're doing, regardless of how in your face you are with the rest of the stuff. So that, I mean, you got to take solace in that at least.
I've been definitely, and I've been feeling, it was a big gratitude year, I guess, altogether. That's what that weird everyday thing where I would just wake up and even today, you know, like, it's just, holy cow. Yesterday we were on a hike going up the top of this mountain, and I'm up there in the snow with him. And then we had just, you know, been making music or whatever. And it just, those are really surreal moments. And I'm just really grateful that it keeps happening. And there are sacrifices that I have made and make in my personal life to make it possible. But I think that from the majority standpoint of everything this last year has just been about truly maintaining mental health and physical health. And then the stamina of the creativity is almost inevitable just because, you know, the space is there. So I guess with like space being there, as long as I'm healthy and clear headed and have good judgment, I can play a song and enjoy it and listen to it and make good decisions about what would make it better. But then if I'm stressed and, you know, not nourished well and not getting enough sleep, I do find that I start to resent the process, even with the ability to do it every day, you know, as a job or whatever. I'm just like, oh, I don't want to at that point. It actually feels worse. It's like quite, it's almost evil. It took your favorite thing and made you hate it. And I just like don't like getting to that point ever anymore. I think that happens when I'm out of balance. I get a little manic and I love creating. So I don't like to come off the wave. I don't like to take that day or two to leave the project once I start something. I love the feeling of completing a song and putting it on the internet. There's just something about where you're like, it's done now. I can't obsess over this anymore. It's out. Like if I at this point, if I make a change, like, it's going to be a V2, you know, it's like, it's actually going to come out as a different version or something like that, but it's done. And I can like move on to the next record.
I'm really curious to pick your mind more on that, especially with how much you've accomplished last year and how much you feel like you could have done more, and like all these things, all these compromises you had to make and all that. I'm really starting to realize that more and more every year, like, not everything is going to be perfect. You have to take hits in some areas. And so I'm really curious to kind of pick your mind on how did you I don't want to say come to terms with the process, but how did you kind of analyze for you what's like most important for you, what you're okay with taking a hit, and kind of how you made all those compromises to like get that volume of workout and keep pushing on the actual like releasing front?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. This one gets me really excited because it was really cool. I got to play with that a lot this year and decide what's important and make mistakes, like put time into things that aren't important and then realize that was just not important. And I keep I guess the front answer is that I do keep track of every single thing I do every day, actually, unless I'm really stressed. That's actually a red flag for me now. But even today, I've written down what I want to do, what I have done, like what I've eaten, what I'm grateful for. All those things are documented. And so I can see these patterns over time and I guess course correct as I'm going. So in the beginning of 2021, my goal was to make TikToks, I guess. And I set out not to make TikToks, but to find a process that would be me on TikTok. And so I started to get that InShot app and I started to develop my editing. Yeah, it's great. And I started to develop that pipeline, just my process of filming things throughout my day and then cutting it really quickly. It doesn't take too much time for me. It's 5 minutes and then I upload it to Instagram currently. But it was great because then I could see in the stories what people would engage with and what they would react to on a platform that actually doesn't really want to give you engagement. So you're almost like fighting against resistance and you're seeing like what really does draw attention in this almost more hostile, we could call it, environment. It's not actually hostile, but you get what I mean. And then, so now I have all this cool content that was backpiled, but I did realize throughout that process that like Instagram does have diminishing returns, I guess. You know, in the beginning when I was first putting content there, I felt like it brought me a lot of new stuff. And now I feel like most of my new stuff is coming from the blessing of the Spotify platform that I was like fortunate enough to build at that time. And so for my strategy, I started to realize that I just needed to optimize for putting out music. Most people don't put that first current, like, and I think that it's a risk at any point in the process to put that first above marketing or above any of the other parts of even your personal life. But that's what I just decided to do in 2021. And then just for my own sanity, when I would get to the point of like, oh, I'm stuck on this record, or I don't know which one I'm going to put out next, I like shooting videos. So I would go either book a client or I would shoot a video for myself. And that would kind of give me that social outside of the bedroom type creative stuff. And then, sometimes I get to like get really cool like projects that pay me really awesome too. And so I get to go and like kind of take a paid vacation to create with someone awesome. And that's cool. I love doing that too. So like I guess the priorities though definitely evolved out of iteration and understanding like what was going to give me the most result long term, but also short term. And so I just kept coming back to the fact that during 2021, even though every single sign in the open world was telling me to go hard on TikTok, I just decided to go hard and put out music every month. And so like that was the sacrifice. And then on the engineering end, it really was just the fact of like when you're putting music out every 3 weeks, unless you have a stockpile, but I didn't. I was coming in with just like finishing one every 3 weeks. There is a deadline. You have to get it out. Otherwise you miss the flight, so to speak. So you can put it in, but like it won't get the push, the extra push that they like offer you if you keep things moving. And so like to do the press write-up for the Spotify pitch and get the album artwork done, which I'm doing the album covers too, and getting the photos done for Instagram. And then like, if it has a lyric video, I'm shooting that. So the whole package for 3 weeks, it was manageable to do it at that frequency, but basically whatever wasn't in the songwriting. Like I would do the songwriting, I'd get the lyrics, I'd get vocals that I was really happy with, and then I'd produce it usually pretty well. But then pretty much beyond that point, whatever visual I got, whatever mixing happened was more of just being like circumstantially fortunate to that month almost. Like I happened to be here that month or whatever. And so I shot that piece of content, or I happened to be here. And so I still haven't even put out some of the videos that I started shooting last year. And they're going to come out because I'm finishing them this month. I've been wrapping up all the shoots, but I was like in Vegas because I happened to be in LA, and I went over to Vegas, and it was during the part of COVID when almost no one was there. And so at night it was completely empty, but all the lights were on. And so it's like, hell yeah, I'm shooting a music video here today. You just have to seize that moment. It's one of those things.
When else are you going to get that opportunity?
Yeah. Or there will be like snowfall or just something in the environment where there'll be a unique opportunity. Like one of my friends had 2 red Ducati motorcycles the other day. And so it was just like, oh yeah, well, like that's a really cool aesthetic. So I got another friend to come, and she's wearing all red, and then we got her posed up with the bikes, and it just looks so cool, So those are those little mini art projects that they're not a priority, but they're a priority in the sense that they do help fuel the main priority, which is being reset to be in the studio and write better music. Mm-hmm. But then in the off season, I guess you could call it, I'm still being able to be productive and playful in a way that's not so pressured all the time. Because I put a lot of pressure on myself in the songwriting process. And so being able to kind of have less pressure and less rules when it comes to engineering or how my, I don't know, a lot of other things are. I don't have a Discord server that's functioning yet. I don't really do consistent like uploads to YouTube or anything like that yet. I just really did optimize for the writing process. But again, because I saw that opportunity with those flights, so to speak, I was like, I could hit a free flight 12 months this year, and get all of that free promotion for all those songs. Plus, if they do well, they feed back to old records. Yeah. And so it was like it was like hitting those little Mario speed bumps, just whoop, and then it would, next one, whoop, and like I'm still doing that. But once I hit January, I just felt like, or this year, basically, I just felt that I needed to take a pause. So I haven't released anything for a few months now. And I think it was good. I think everybody else came into 2022 really hard. I saw a lot of people drop on February 22nd. I saw a lot of people drop on the new year. And so I felt like it was a good time for me to kind of be like, no, I don't need to like cloud any of those releases. Let everybody else like have this month,
Did you notice like a difference between in that really high output time, like a 3-week gap between releases and like a 4-week gap? Do you think it makes a difference really?
It's a per song. Yeah. Like if the song is doing really well, giving it more time is better. But you'll know within the first 3 weeks if it's not going to do really well, I guess, so to speak, or like extra well. You'll get the free flight, but sometimes you get extra miles. They're like, oh, this one did really well, we'll fly you again. Go back. Go. Maybe you want to fly to Florida now. I don't know. But yeah, no, I think that the 4 week is great, all the way up to 6 weeks, I've heard, honestly. And even like people definitely space it out more, and it's still effective if the record is doing really well. There's no reason to step on it. But I just actually have that many records that are like done, and I don't want to hold them back, where I have this sense that I'm going to reinvent myself like tomorrow. And so anything that came out was finished yesterday is already going to be old. So I'm just like, I need to get it out now.
Don't let it sit for too long, because then you'll hate it and never release it.
Or it just will feel weird later because it's an authentic part of your life, and you'll be like, oh yeah, this was old emotion. And so then I have this happen where I'll be shooting a music video for something that I wrote like 4 years ago, and if it's like a painful song, for instance, in the video, sometimes I'll struggle to facially convey the same emotion because I don't even feel like that anymore. And so I'll be laughing, in one of the ones where it's supposed to be super serious or something, like subtly, you can just see it in my face. And I think that's hilarious, but I just like, it's a lesson in doing the content together and having that 3 week sprint where you're just getting all the things done, and then you kind of oscillate between like the album cover and the music video maybe, or like the songs mixing, and you get to kind of stew with all the parts of the process and take time and go back and forth, and doing the other aspects sort of help inspire maybe the other piece of it. So yeah, that was definitely an intense year, and I am even still just really sleepy from it. I feel like this year I just like, I haven't fully recovered yet even, but I do feel extremely creative again. And taking the break after releasing that consistently, it has me very excited now to release music again. I'm very pumped to drop new stuff, because it is fun. It feels very healing when you get to put it out and to move on. There's that sense of closure, and it's also weird though, being like you have to express yourself. Like you better drop it this month, bro. So it's both sides, but.
Yeah, how far in front of yourself do you try and stay with the actual releasing? Like you said, you didn't have a whole archive of tracks that you were putting in.
Yeah,
but
none.
Like, how far in front of the release date were you trying to get them uploaded to distribution?
Totally. I was hitting like 5 weeks, which was a pocket that I felt pretty good about. But ideally, it's like 7 and more is what they recommend. So if I could get ahead farther, which is what I'm going to try to do this cycle, then it would be good. But I feel time pass I'm very in tune with it. And I just, it's so long. Like if I had a song finished right now, which I guess I do, and it's like the album cover's not quite done, but the master's done, I could technically upload it to distribution. If I uploaded it today, I should set it to come out quite a bit farther from now. But thinking about 70 days from now is so far that I'm like, oh man, no, it has to come out sooner than that. There's a lot of time between there and there. And so it just goes back to the indie strategy. Like this is totally foolish when it comes to correctly marketing your music or whatever, I guess. But I really do have faith that the inevitability is going to be that with every record that I drop on Spotify, it's going to show it to a certain amount of new people through Discover Weekly, and then all the old people that really were already locked into the algorithm. And so it'll just germinate on its own to the back catalog. And then through those streams at a certain point, when I feel like there's enough for me to continue to comfortably live off of, I can start to put some of that into the promotion and the press and do proper releases. And I think maybe that'll come at a time when it's more organic for me to release slower anyway. But I still have, we have 5 tracks we're working on right now. I have probably 13 that are almost done, that are solo, like no one's even on them, but just my production, my writing and everything. And then I have another folder that's like 20 beats that are all produced with other people that are instrumentals sort of that I have to write to. But they're amazing. They're like very select, cool, like of my favorite ones even. So there's just so much material. Plus I want to go back and make an acoustic album with all the songs that I have out that are my favorites. So there's just so much to do that thinking about, like, I would like to, ideally, if you ask me, I would like to have all of that out this year, but I just don't know that that's possible, but like ambitiously based on what I've done before, I think with the right clarity and the right healthy habits daily, then there is that focus reset. And I think it's possible, but it really does going back to like coming off of the mania. If I go too hard, I'll burn out and then I won't get it done actually, because I'll need more time to recover. But if I can, like oscillate correctly, hit that wave, it'll work quite well.
That's eye-opening for me though, because I've never even gotten close to 5 weeks of runway into distribution. Like I don't know if I'm speaking for just myself here, but I feel like that's actually pretty professional in my eyes to be able to have every 3 weeks you give your then it's a 5 week runway. Like I don't know if I'm just too much of a procrastinator, but I'd be like, oh no, it could be like a little bit better in a week. But that's
it's like I think I was hitting at minimum 4 weeks, 3 weeks. I don't think I ever crossed the 3 weeks before. I don't think I've ever, because it does at that point you're risking like the pitch on Spotify and it can make it like reach less people. And DistroKid warns you that I think they say 4. I do think they do say 4. So I've heard from label people and watched like Mr. Suicide Sheep, for instance, like do distribution, and they do like 5 months in advance. And I'm sure some of that has to do with their pipeline, but I think that they do it that way because they know the frequency at which they can handle, and then also that at which like will give them the correct amount of time to submit all the things that they have to do to make it work right. And so, I don't know. It's definitely like, I think it's really just understanding what is right for your creative process. I really do have more songs to put out than I feel like I have time to put out properly with all the assets. And so that I just do as much as I can. And then, like the audience that I currently have with Alter, at least, seems to be okay with that. And then, what scares me is like starting a new project or being like, oh, all of a sudden I want to go like write house music or do some completely different thing that's not Alter. It's like, I think that those fans they wouldn't necessarily, it's very much based on that my whole catalog is Alter sounds similar. And I feel like pivoting outside of that is like just what would make it different. So
yeah, for real. That is one thing to always consider, is like being like consistent on your sound, creating that sonic brand. And I know it can be really easy to get distracted, be like, oh, now I'm making this type of music over here, but it seems like it's really worked well for you. So
yeah, like functionally I would be excited to like do a DJ project for fun so that I could DJ out more, but I don't see myself, and these are like boxes I put on myself, but the genres and the way that my vocals sit on my tracks, I wouldn't want to really DJ Alter's music. I would want to play Alter's music live with a band at Coachella. But like I would love to DJ a nightclub as another artist project that I have with original music, but it would just have to be a different type of like syncopation and grooves and different writing styles and stuff. And those are projects that would be really fun. But I what stresses me out in that is that I'd want to do it in a way that's very playful and doesn't have the expectations like Alter does to be, I guess, a business. And then like, whereas these other projects would be more of just other things that I would do like as a fun side project, I guess, or whatever. But I have so many visual side projects that it just doesn't have, there's no bandwidth.
I feel like the key, and it's you can't really do this intentionally, it just ends up happening, but the key is like your style is not linked to like a genre. Your style is linked to like a palette of textures of your sounds and like a mood of the vocals, and then that allows you to have a lot more creativity in what you do that is all like undeniably you, right?
Yeah. Alter's become more of a songwriting project for me, where it started out as I was a producer, so it had a heavy producer undertone to it, and I love collaborating with other great producers, and so it had a lot of their amazing bits and the beats and stuff like that. But a lot of the direction that I guess I see myself going, and even what we're starting to create, is a lot more minimal, a lot more vocal focused, and that's I guess the direction I see for the future of Alter. It makes sense because that's what I built into it. So even if the production does change, but then like to do something that is again just purely instrumentally based, I don't know, I guess the more I'm talking about it, I'm like, man, I could probably drop it all under Alter. The thing is SEO. I think Alter has some just awful SEO, and it symbolically represents me very well, but I just want someone to type me in mindlessly and for me to come up, because I feel like I deserve that. But right now it's like, there's just no hope. Like there's so many Alter music things and Alter X egos and alters and all that. So it's like I really have a Spotify based platform of songwriting beats, and so I'll just ride that wave until it like doesn't work for that, and then I'm just trying to build Bandcamp into my ecosystem ASAP, because they also, you guys saw the Unreal Engine acquisition of that. That's pretty crazy.
No.
Do tell.
Yeah, so Unreal Engine bought Bandcamp, and we don't know what that would actually mean, but they're like they won against Apple in that court case for Fortnite. Like, so they're kind of like in the email blast, it said something like the supporters of the open and free internet, have acquired Bandcamp or whatever. But I really do love Unreal Engine, and I think it's a beautiful piece of software, and they have a clause in their download. You can download Unreal Engine for free, and it says that something to the effect of, we won't take any money from anything that you make with this engine until you've reached $1 million in revenue. And so then after $1 million in revenue, they basically collect royalties from the engine, but they give you all the tools and all the assets, and there's all incredible. You could basically make a game today if you knew what you wanted to do, like for free, and then upload it to Steam, possibly sell $1 million worth, and make, whatever that is after taxes for free, and never have to like buy any tools.
That's so dope. Like, I didn't even know about that.
That's super cool. But yeah, they bought Bandcamp, so Fortnite and all that, and then that's really big, because Bandcamp was already doing really big numbers before and was quite a cool platform. But I feel like that could put them in the place of like a Twitch almost. It could hybrid into some sort of streaming platform, maybe.
What do you think their vision is for acquiring Bandcamp? Do you think they're gonna like integrate some sort of visual aspect, or?
I don't know. That's what's crazy, is they're such an interesting company too. Like the engine is different than it's not like other companies. Blender's maybe like the closest thing, but the Unreal Engine is like a company, I think.
It seems like a very interesting combination.
Yeah, so I just really like Bandcamp was a place where I would see a lot of friends and other artists sell quite a bit of music still. Like if people were going to buy music and give a big portion of that to the artist, Bandcamp's a really good place to currently do that.
I always search Bandcamp first if I'm buying DJ tracks.
And because you get the high quality waves and shit.
Yeah, you get AIFFs and stuff for the same price, which I really dig. Like, shouts to Beatport or whatever, but like they charge you an extra 75 cents if you're downloading a high quality file.
Yeah,
and knowing that it goes to the artist, and you can choose to donate more. Like I've had people buy like a single but give me like a $5 or something like that before, and that's really, really like generous and cool, because it does in those cases. It's like iTunes takes, I don't know what it is, like 80% or something crazy. And then I feel, I don't know what it
exactly is. Maybe we should Google that.
Before I'm just blasting Apple. I love Apple, okay? But on the software, hardware end, just...
No. That's funny though. I mean, Bandcamp is huge. I've like, for whatever reason, I feel like there's a certain threshold that attracts people to someone's Bandcamp, but that's probably just friction in wanting to set up another platform. Like I had completely forgotten about it, and then someone commented on like a YouTube video Valiant posted of one of the songs off the album, and someone's like, "Oh my god, when the album comes out, you got to put it on Bandcamp." I'll like break my phone trying to smash the buy button. I was like, Bandcamp.
Yeah, that's cool actually.
Right. Fuck that. Yeah, I need to do that.
Well, and it's like I feel like it's I imagine it being more of like in my head with how I'm going to set the pipeline up. It'll be like a YouTube video that'll explain why Bandcamp more than anything. It'll and explain how helpful it really is to do that way. And then, put the link there, but put a little bit about the album's process or whatever. But I feel like it really is that fan way to link with you that is still digital, and, can be a lot of cool potential there. But to see that they were already going to be a really good company, they had a great revenue stream figured out, but to see them be acquired by Unreal Engine, it just means that it could scale quite big. So I'm excited to see what that would mean. I mean, I could see all sorts of stuff in the future. Then that means that VR and Bandcamp will coexist probably. So,
yeah, that's a very interesting acquisition, and I'm very excited to see where that goes. I'm glad you brought that up. One thing that's really cool, I don't know if you guys have heard of Koji.
What's that?
Shout out to Koji. But it's basically like better Linktree. And they have like apps and integrations and stuff that you can add to it. Yeah. So you can have like you can host your music directly onto a Linktree type of thing and have it so that people could buy it. You can host like digital products. You could do like Q&As. You could do like paid like videos or stuff like that. They even have NFT integrations. So like if you're coming around for a show, or if you have a certain type of product or something and these people own this specific NFT, it's immediately unlocked for them. It's really cool. You can add all of your links and so much more with all the different like integrations and stuff you have. It's basically like Linktree plus e-commerce plus email and phone number collector plus everything you'd want, basically.
So it's almost like the website, but then you don't have to code anything, or they just got the widgets for you, drag and drop kind of a thing.
Exactly.
That's really cool. Definitely shoot me that. I'll take a poke. Yeah, my Linktree got banned, man. There was a short season where I was doing some music videos with some ladies who had some OnlyFans content attached to their Instagram, and I have no problem with that. But Instagram apparently thought that I also was doing that, and so they flagged my Linktree, and I was just so sad about that. But I have the card right now, and it's cool. It works like as a replacement or whatever. But I've been just meaning to really just redo my Squarespace with everything you just said and make it link like a Linktree format. But that would be much better if it's faster. I'll I'm
gonna shoot that to you. Poke. For all the listeners, it's withkoji.com.
Have you fucked around with making any NFTs? I feel like for a visual artist of your caliber, that it would be a logical step. I'm sure you've thought about it, but
definitely, it was in my to-do list from last year, actually, like before they really popped off. And I had a buddy who got in pretty early and was doing it quite successfully before the wave even really hit. And so I was really into seeing that. And I thought, I was learning Blender at the time. It would have been perfect timing, but that was that thing I guess another thing that I sacrificed when we talked about giving things up. I was just really so focused on the music. I didn't really think about it. And I guess from what I understand, and maybe I'm wrong, but at any point, what will be valuable about an NFT is that someone can technically like own the digital copy of whatever, like let's say a certain music video file or something like that. Like I could put it up for an NFT, but I could do that in the future, and as long as I haven't done one before, it'll still be just as valuable then as now. So I think for those things, yeah. But I have been prototyping some specific, just fun art pieces, not necessarily with the intent of making an NFT, but as like a visual side project. But it comes down to that's yet another side project.
I know, right? I feel like so like Levitate. Everyone here knows Levitate. Like he transitioned into doing like really heavy into like NFT and like art design stuff. He hasn't released a whole lot of music since his album came out. His NFTs look fucking sick though.
Dude, he's doing daily Twitch streams and doing these almost like brush style drawings now. Yeah. And they're insane. They are. If you go to his Instagram ridiculous. Right now, the last probably 25 pictures are from those, and they look insane. And then before that, I when I was in LA in December, I ran into him for a little bit, and he was playing some new music he had been working on. I don't really like follow the music release pipeline for what he's doing normally. Even I just kind of hear it when I kick it with him. Yeah. But I'm really excited for what he's doing next. I don't want to spoil anything for him, but I heard some new tracks. Dude, but you're right. Yeah. It just takes the Twitch streaming. What he was saying is like it's full time. You know, you really got to allocate a lot of energy because you're on top of doing the art. You're engaging with people, and you know you're like it's essentially this, but on top of what we're doing right now, also making like a piece of art.
It's crazy. It's essentially like getting on stage every day.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty crazy.
But I love that style, and I think for what he's doing, like on that specific style of art, it's so cool, and it makes so much sense, and it's such a great way to like create more of like show more of what he's capable of because he's also very multifaceted media.
Yeah, and I'm looking at his page now. This shit's insane.
Yeah, so good. The concepts like are so like
wow.
They're so good. He's a rare individual that like I've never heard one of his songs that I was like, oh, that's a miss, and I've never seen an art piece from him that's like, oh, that's a miss. Like, yeah, he just delivers such a high level. But yeah, like we said, it's you can't really divide your focus and still be at that same level in all your fields, or it's going to take a lot.
Or
of time.
Its level is like maybe also even just like what would it be? It's like. You can't consistently release all of it. You know, you might be able to make it, but to distribute everything is just another job in itself. So if you're like trying to make the art and then also put it out, whatever it is, you know. In his case, he's making the art, the picture, but then he's doing a Twitch stream with it and then dropping, you know, like the pic finished to IG and every day doing reposts there and stuff. So it's just a process, but yeah.
Hey, I got a question for you as far as the writing side.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know this is such a vague question. I'm just kind of throwing it out for conversation, but
isn't that what we're doing?
Yeah, right. How do you manage to write? Like you're somebody that like writes from a genuine place, and like I could tell you put like thought into your lyrics and it's meaningful, and like you take care of the production and you do all this stuff. How do you manage to talk about something meaningful, not like get stuck on second verses for everything you do and then continue to just wrap everything up and put it out? Like
volume is the short answer, where it's just so many different sketches that it's inevitable that some will be finished, but there's so many, what you just said, exactly that, not finished verses, no lyrics to the mumble, the drum groove doesn't work right. There's so many of those tracks on my hard drive right now that are suffering from those very problems. And so but what I notice is like 1 out of 10 it usually gets done, and then 1 out of those 10, in my opinion, usually ends up performing extra stellar. But I integrate, I meant to talk about this earlier. I integrate my listeners as much as possible now. Like, I guess that's one of the cool things, even about having, it's not like very many people right now, to be transparent. It's a small group of maybe like 100 to 200 people that are like, that would literally, like, if I message them right now, a song, they would be like, would respond within an hour of like what they thought about it and give me some really particular feedback. But I love that. And I love having people that are genuinely a fan of my music. So they're not biased to like some other genre or flavor. They know what I'm doing, and they want to hear that, so that when I show them something, they're like, no, we love what you do, and we like this specific thing in what you're doing in this track. And so it allows me to get a sense of where I'm at a lot better now. And one of my top listeners actually talks to me on on Instagram a lot, and will send me music that they're listening to that's coming out on Spotify. Maybe some of it's from my genre, but some of it's outside of the genre. And so stuff like that keeps me fresh, I guess, because I really do feel like I have good perspective and I'm making good choices about what direction things should go. And I'm aware, at least if I'm violating an expectation or I'm adding something, I can kind of sense what my listeners specifically are feeling about it from those like 100 to 200 people that I might be in contact with, either in my story, like even you the other day. I think you messaged me about one that I put in my story. I do that stuff just to see, like, that was one of those songs where I think like 6 people messaged me about that clip. That's very abnormal. Normally, like I could post music and no one would hit me. Maybe a fire emoji or something, but people specifically commented on that one, and I took it to my friend's place. His warehouse played it. Same thing. He was, oh, I really love this section. And so then I'm aware, like, okay, don't fuck that section up. You know, like, that's fine. Everybody loves that shit. Like, that's great. Figure out the other sections now, you know, or whatever. And so like, I just try to not chase my tail and go back. Like, if something worked and I liked it originally, then I don't change it. But then a lot of my process feels like me leaving no stone unturned, and it's just me trying a bunch of other things and seeing what like actually will feel right. But resetting that perspective is the part that's the hardest, and why I think I do so many different things and different side projects, because it helps me set the thing down. Like, if I don't ever set it down emotionally in my mind, then I don't ever have like real perspective. I just have a thought. I have like a, not a feeling, it's a thought. It's like, I think this based on my model of reality, and everything in my past has said this. And then if you're just making music from how you feel, you're not going to like think about it. You'll just be like, this is working or this is not working. And I think like listeners of our music, when they're first hearing a song, that's how they're doing it. Does this feel good or does it not, feel good? But yeah, that helps a lot. Just having the switch ups and getting checking. It feels like checking the pulse. Like, I can kind of see like what my listeners are listening to, what new things are inspiring them. And then I can kind of see where the whole genre as a bigger cloud is heading, and then kind of just decide where like I'm the most excited to be within it.
Yeah. I also think it's important to note, like, the amount of vocal ideas you put in before you land on the one, or maybe it's even the first one you like, but the amount of vocal ideas he'll just record as we're working on stuff is like 10x what anyone else I worked with puts in. Just like always coming up with different cadences and melodies and trying stuff. And it doesn't always have words, but the word, like the feeling of it leads to words very easily. And I think that including like what you're feeling at the moment into those like sections that you've already figured out and you like the cadence and everything, like it just ends up being more natural.
I got a question that bridges perfectly from what you just talked about, and I can't wait to hear both of your answers. Now that you guys have worked together a bunch, what's one thing you picked up from each other that you either do all the time now or that was surprising or just notable in any way?
That's a good question.
That is a good question. I think
Wearing
like
black.
Only you're not allowed inside.
Yeah, this studio
there's any other colors.
Full send.
Yeah,
not
only
welcome.
colors are the cables.
Yeah. Well, we switch the lights and the vibe up when other people come over, and then you can wear black. But today, only black. At least for me, it's definitely like we just touched on it a little bit, but it's definitely like the vocal process, like how to get, because something that I do, respect about his music is like the lyrics always have like such a catchy vibe to them. And I think that you find that by like, just like not inhibiting the amount of ideas you put in and just really feeling the vibe and finding what the thing is that really captures what you're trying to do. And I think that for someone like myself who's like newer at writing vocals, like I always get a bit too precious with like how when I'm writing something, I'm already thinking like, oh, it's gotta be good. And then like when I'm like throwing ideas in, if I like something, I'm like more predisposed to just like think that that's the thing rather than just trying a lot more and like being more flowing with it and figuring out the right feel and sound of it before even like necessarily putting words to it. Sometimes the words come at the same time in our process. It's been like that for sure, but the like getting the vibe and the feel and the cadence of any vocal line and just trying a bunch of stuff and then figuring out how that works. A, you get a better result, and B, it's faster in the end.
Yeah.
Man.
Damn. That's dope. I'm glad. Yeah. This project's been so fun. When I got here, like in November, it was when we started this, we did 5 songs in less than 24 hours. And that's the same vibe we're working on, and how we set intentions the night before, and we kind of went it from that angle. I said, well, I want to do as many as we can, and we don't have to finish any of them. We should just work on them until we literally feel like switching, and then we'll just keep switching whenever we feel like it. We'll never stop creating, but we'll just go, and then just keep pivoting, and we'll work on one as long as we want to. So we did these 5, and I tried to not listen to them. I think I listened to them, in the week after in November or whatever, but I haven't listened to them since then. So when we got back and we were playing them, I was just mind blown at how authentic they felt, because I remember where I was at, and it was like a time capsule almost, and what I was feeling in that moment, and the tonality is what I feel like I've been picking up from him. I have a sound. I have like a thing that I sound, and I do these 2 kind of vocal tones or whatever, but he has this vocal tone that's completely different than mine because he talks different than me, right? But it's very full, it's very powerful, and it's got this very cool tone. And I pick up really easily things in the room from people, like if I'm watching them or like watching their body. So I started to be able to tap into this tone, and when we were writing together, I think it happened for both of us a little bit, but like I feel like we were like absorbing the physical ability to like shape our throat differently to sound like each other. And so like that's been really cool, because I've been around a lot of amazing singers, but and this was someone new, a different color, so to speak. So that was really cool. But then also there's this modular shit we were playing with. That was really fun. There's been a lot. Like we were figuring out when I was here in November, different auto-tune solutions, like kind of just dove in. But yeah, I feel like that Yeah, definitely just being able to like write with someone else who's also really excited. There must be something in the air up here, you know. But I just feel like I'm just getting some of his like best ideas where I'm listening to them. I'm like, holy fuck, bro, this is insane. What the hell?
It does work out though, because we make, you know, individually we make different sounding music, but they have very like appropriate aesthetics to cross over, right? So typically because we like a lot of the same things, but like do different things or get there different ways, inevitably like what he will like just do out of intention or like, you know, just his first instinct will be something that I'm like, oh fuck yeah, I like that a lot, because it's not something I would have thought of, but it's totally in the wheelhouse of what I love. And I think that goes both ways, and it just ends up like, yeah, we'd like he said, we finished 5 drafts like with vocals and like everything in less than 24
that's how
hours.
we were. I think the real successful what I found here in November, and it's impacted my writing process since November a lot, is the fact that there was very low expectations to the result. Specifically, we just wanted to be creating, and so what came out lyrically and tonally and melodically all was extremely authentic to where each one of us was in that moment. He'd pick up the guitar and he'd play something that he might be unsure about, but he felt it. That was what he picked up and played, and it was a different new thing. And then I would just riff off of it, and we would kind of go back and forth. He would hear my vocal and he'd kind of change the guitar part, and we would get to this gel point, and then we would just lay it down. And then it wasn't too much ever second guessing, which is a lot of my process. And even this time coming back, since we have the drafts, that's kind of where I go into my no stone left unturned state. But we're just looking at different ways the record could exist, knowing that we have this really good draft. And so then it's been really cool though, because like I'm all about the contrast. So I feel like we have an A or a B part for 5 songs. And so it's really just about coming up with the other contrasting part to each record. And as we're discovering each one, as we kind of like have done one and then we move to the next one or whatever, it just gives me this new excitement for the track. Like I'm just as excited as I was when I first heard the original draft. And then that's really exciting, but we're trying to approach it the same way, where we're not getting bogged down or too fixated on any detail. And if we get into the detail organically, we let ourselves go in there, but we're not like being like, we have to do those fucking mixes today. But you know, yesterday I for instance, I did spend like 2 hours mixing down a vocal lead, but for fun. Like I had been writing something else before, and I recorded a bunch of stuff, and then I was like, man, I don't want to record or write anymore. I'm kind of exhausted. So I just opened up, you know, the vocal chain, and I was just mixing the lead. And now
it sounds so good.
It's super clean. Yeah,
I
was like, wow, man, that's a very clean sounding vocal there.
We were joking. It's like the CIA TV shows where they're like, enhance again, enhance again.
Yeah,
it
they're
sounds
like bringing
like
up
that.
the vocal from the background. Yeah.
That's funny.
Depixelating.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. You guys seem to be hitting a really stride of synergy there, which is like one of my favorite
We're having
things
fun
about
for sure.
Yeah. That's those right. You hit the other one. Those are my 2 favorite parts about collaboration. It's fun, and you get that synergy of like somebody lays something down that, you know, like I never would have thought of, and then I'm able to add something that they wouldn't have thought of, which sparks a whole nother thing that neither of us would have come up with if this moment hadn't existed just like this.
For real. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if music's meant to be made alone, to be honest.
It's weird. I've been doing it a lot this year, like as opposed to normally where I do have collaborators, and it's not great for your sanity. I can vouch.
Yeah. Man, it's like it is getting out of your element. It's all the shit that like you would never think of to do. Like the way I always think of it is, if you created it, if it's just of your creation, then you know basically from the first thought, every web of thoughts that's like both broken down, every single idea, why it's shit and why it could be better and everything. And then also all the good parts, how you arrived there, everything, all of that is kind of concurrently going through your head while you're listening to it, because you know the process, so nothing is that exciting or engaging versus like somebody's like, hey, what if that was in 3/4 or some shit? Or there have been times where like somebody will throw out an idea and like my inner voice, which maybe lasts like all of half a second, but at first it's like, oh, that's a shit idea. Why the fuck will we do that? Like, that's everything about me is just like, man, that's gonna turn out bad. I can already see this causing mix issues, blah blah blah, for like half a second, right? And then I'm just like, fuck it, let's try, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, always, honestly, whenever I feel that like, oh, this might cause a mix issue or whatever, I'm excited to dive into those options, because I'm like, just the fact that that voice initially was like, fuck no, why would you do that, is like such a good sign of like, do more of this, do more of what would, don't even do what you wouldn't think of, do the like, oh, why the fuck would you do that,
break
and
it
like
harder.
go in on that and see where that takes you, because there's so many of those little moments where they end up like, maybe that becomes a little motif you chop up of like some part or something, and then you just repeat that, and then that like is the mind-blowing like catchy bit that you know, again, you never would have thought of on your own, but now every time you listen to it, you don't know where that idea came from. It's like this foreign thing that to you now every time is magical.
Yeah. And I didn't even really think about this, but he brought like our setup works really good because he brought like speakers, like small monitors, headphones, laptop stand. So like we'll both like, we'll be working on something together and playing it, and then like we'll throw headphones on, like, I'll sound design, he'll like, work on the B section or whatever. And then like you were talking about, normally when you're working by yourself, it's like, every detail of everything that's being created in real time. And when all of a sudden you hear like him like turn the speakers audible, I throw my headphones down and listen to something that he's made on the record, like, holy fuck, that's
we're working
sick.
on different ones.
So yeah, like we'll work on
both, like we have the 5 and he'll be working on, the bridge of 4 and I'll be doing the verse of 1. And then I'm like, what do you think of this at the interval when the idea has been polished, a little bit more, or maybe it's in the very beginning where I literally laid down just something like a loop, and I'm like, what about if the drums did like this? And he'll either be like, oh, like no, or like, oh no, I do like that one, and then I can go farther. But what you're describing, and I have like a solution and like a further analysis of it. I feel like producing solo is like the ultimate form of decision fatigue, because you're like literally making these super crucial decisions, but one after another, with no actual feedback. Only feedback is in your brain is being generated from the past. And so if you, but then what you can do to like, there's 2 solutions to what you're saying, inducing randomness into your process essentially, or like a controlled chaos from another collaborator, is like AI, first of all, because like there are a lot of new cool little tools like that, or some sort of like loop library, like Splice even is in that category in my brain, where you're like, oh, I'm going to go get like somebody else's idea and bring it in, and that will like inspire me. Or just kind of a procedural based production is what I call it. And like, this is my word hijacked from the 3D modeling side of things, where they have these like nodes in 3D modeling that you can drag to affect, like, let's say you start with a sphere, and then you drag on this like duplicator node, and so the sphere turns into like a geo morphs, and then you add another node, and then it kind of morphs that thing. But you could move the nodes orders, and just like an audio plugin, it would change the way that that's occurring. Like maybe instead of it being 8 spheres, now it's like squished inwards, and it's like a triangle, like a hexagon, or whatever. It's changing though based on this process. And so in audio, what that is similar to is like, let's say you took like a kick drum and you pitch it down, and then you throw 25 plugins on, and you're like, wow, this sounds really crazy different. It's definitely not a kick drum anymore. But then you now take the kick drum out and you put in like a full master of some other song, and then time stretch that into that 25 chain plugin thing. That's going to be some other result that you will never have predicted, because you've never synthesized that procedure before, and so it will shock you every time. And so it is those things where you're like, this is probably going to be a mixing disaster. But as far as an inspiration machine, like for production, I don't ever feel, even alone, that as a producer I have that decision fatigue quite the same, because my process, I've tried to make it as procedural as possible, so that I'm constantly being shocked. Or the opposite, I guess, where I have my exact template and I have my exact vocal chain locked in for this exact mic, so that there's not even any thought. I just turn the chain on and it's like mixed, it's done. So it's either complete randomness, chaos, or like order, and control.
I feel that so hard.
But
both are very important.
Both are very important. But being with another person, I think that you get both of that. You get their systems of orders and controls, and you get their systems of chaos, and you can choose to like take and play with any of it that you want. And that is what's really fun. And also why there's no replacement for in-space collaboration versus internet collaboration, because I don't think that you get the same like feedback any different. I think it's the same type of decision fatigue if you're collaborating over the internet, because you're making decisions without the individual giving you any sort of like this, no, or yes, that like type things. But
totally. Yeah. I think also like just being able to, like we said, like how we were working like back and forth, having like showing each other stuff, like the excitement level and like your interest in what you're doing remains at a way higher level.
Yeah.
Because you have the energy of someone else in the room, but also the more ideas excite you per minute because it's not just you. And like you just end up,
it's a really good dopamine.
The IPM is off the charts.
Yeah. Dopamine per minute, DPM. Yeah. You guys know about that DPM meter? Yeah.
Yeah, if you match it to BPM, some real magic happens. Yeah, man, that's something that I've felt, and I wonder if the rest of the world is feeling, but it felt like 10 years ago there was much more of a push to like be in bands and play in bands. And like now one of my buddies that I'm working with a lot plays in a band, and I don't see that much very often. And seeing their dynamic, for example, versus the production dynamic, that's one thing in the last like 5-ish months for me has been huge, like tapping back into that side. And it's been a huge realization, especially having approached it from the production standpoint. Like one thing that was really groundbreaking for me workflow wise, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, but this whole idea of like the songwriting and the actual song components versus the record and the presentation of the song, and how to actually like hone in on the feel, the emotion, the story, all this shit that isn't EQs and compressor thresholds and all this technical jargon that we know from this side. So I don't know. I don't even know what I'm really asking here. I'm just kind of throwing that out because it's kind of cool realization.
Isn't it? They break the royalties down like that too. It's like composition and master recordings.
Exactly.
And stuff. It's like it's actually why they have to do it that way, because they are distinctly different. Back, especially like maybe we're in a different era now. There are still a lot of songwriters now, of course, for pop music and stuff. But I feel like it was much more common before for the songwriter to be different from the singer. And I think a lot more singers write their own songs now because it's just kind of the thing you do. And culture as a whole, you can go on to any of the social media platforms and get pretty good at anything pretty quick. You don't have to, it might not be the best in the world, but you could become a pretty good writer if you we're like 6 months just like on all the things and watching all the stuff. You'd be like in it.
Man, you see like BandLab and that kind of stuff, like BandLab is insane, and the whole like social platform they have that's like integrated with it and everything, it's like actually freaking insane, bro. Like if technology continues to go in that generation, imagine having like a online collaborative Ableton / social platform that's free that you just log into. Like imagine what kind of tunes we'd be making.
Or have you tried, like, this is still like primitive almost to what it would be like in integrating with something like that, but the Oculus music app, I think it's called Virtuoso or something, but it has like in VR space, it's like this studio, and you can put out drum sets and keypads, and there's these little weird almost like theremin sort of move. You move your hand in this XY grid and stuff. But just imagine when Ableton, I can link it to that controller, so to speak, in digital space, and then in VR we're coming and hanging out and jamming in this virtual studio. Like those kinds of experience will change it a lot. But I think that from like a compositional standpoint and a tool, Ableton is just so like in depth. I just see things becoming more about like it will have like a plugin that you could just tell it like verbally what you're looking for, and it would just synthesize it. You would just be like, I need like a bass line and like maybe C minor at this tempo, and then like use like an analog mini Moog like modeled whatever, and then it will just make that. I think it will just like exist.
Man, BandLab has kind of like that, where you can basically like, I want to rattle 808, whatever that means, right? They're all titled whatever, eerie bells, whatever. And instead of like having to know the notes or whatever, it's kind of like a splice loop bin of like manipulatable shit. Wow. And if I want to go in with the track and I'm feeling happy today, I can type in happy melody and I can type in hard drums and I can type in this, that, and they all got a couple little variations to them that I can like tap in on the pads. And like I can just piece these things together, start arranging them, and like do all the effects and automations. It's pretty wild. Like gets me wondering about how music's gonna evolve too. Like seeing that everything's a lot more like mood and vibe based. Like actually when I dove into BandLab, started messing with it, I got that feeling of like, oh, this isn't oriented around what producer used this snare or like where this came from. This is like, this is happy and this is sad and this is a happy bass and this is a sad pluck. And what are you feeling? Grab from those feelings and stitch them together.
Interesting. I think that's a really smart way to categorize it for someone, especially if you were just like coming in, no musical, and you're just like, I just want to make a happy thing or a sad thing. Like you're not trying to quantify the frequency, whatever the hell you need to do that. Have you guys played with XO, the plugin from XLN Audio? They did addictive drums and stuff.
XO?
XO, yeah. I've been using it a bunch, but I was telling Evan about it, but there's like a cloud organization for it's I guess the caveat I guess is if you don't have a lot of samples on your hard drive like natively, if you're doing splice and it's kind of in splice, you might not need this. But I have I think 80 gigs of drum samples from like the last 2 decades or something that are native on my hard drive all the time. And so before I actually just knew these folders. Like in my head I kind of like knew the hierarchy of the trees, and in Ableton's browser I could search like the top of maybe one of the trees and find the samples I was looking for that way. But a lot of samples would go unused or unnoticed, or I'd kind of get into the routine of certain folders more than others, etc. So XO, it basically loads every single drum sample I have into this cloud matrix, and it splits it into percussion types. So there's like a kick part of the cloud and a snare part of the cloud and a percussion part of the cloud, but it's based on texture at time and like I think like drumminess. And so you have like
drumminess,
like which is like because you have maybe samples that are like boop or like whatever in your library that aren't drum sounds, but they're still like percussive like drum sounds. So it'll like put those in their own area. But what's really cool is it has built-in MIDI grooves like swing matrix, like this velocity automator, all these cool things to really quickly generate cool loops ideas. And it will have its like stock kit that it'll play that groove with or whatever, but then it will swap the samples in that kick for whatever ones are the closest in your library based on whatever you tell it. So it'll like suggest other kit like drum shots that would match that kind of aesthetic. So that's really useful. But then what I've been finding is that like I'll take like I'll find like like not a percussion groove, like maybe like a drum and bass groove or something, and then I'll swap all the sounds though to be like percussion sounds. But in the filter page, when you're looking at the giant cloud, you can either just click on different dots and it's like playing back your sounds or whatever. You can kind of drag, like if you're in the kicks, you could drag the little cursor around and it'll go like like you're just like hearing them all. Or you can put on a filter and you can say, I just want to hear kicks that are in this frequency range and are this long. And so then it'll eliminate all of the ones from your view that don't match that criteria. And so you can literally like frequency shape your drum samples immediately without ever having to go into a folder system, which is just so useful for me. Whoa. And I've been switching over to Logic, and Logic's sample browser is nowhere near as good as Ableton's. And so having XO in Logic is even more crucial because then I can quickly navigate like I can in Ableton, find the right sounds, and then they actually mapped it pretty well. So you can just drag the kick out, or the whole kit out that you made out of XO and drag it right into one of those like Logic drum racks, and it'll just load up automatically routed and stuff. It's pretty crazy. But I got that plugin in LA, and I remember seeing the ads for it a long time ago and just not thinking anything of it and being really like almost annoyed about the ads. And then when I started to play with it, I felt really kind of like silly. I was like, oh man, I was totally the right person for this plugin. Like they made this for me, basically. It's one of those ones where it's just so integrated so well into my workflow and has so many uses. I can't even believe that I didn't have it before.
Funny how that happens. That was like a soothe for me for the longest time. Then you're just kicking yourself like, why didn't I just get this?
Yeah. I have Goldfoss, but Soothe is definitely that. It's like that's one of those industries. I don't have Soothe yet, man, but I'm trying to bribe Evan to let me have his other copy.
Man, Soothe is one of those plugins. I had to go without it for a while, and I just like realized how much of a crutch it became. I was just like, wow, I am so ass without it now.
I mean, it is like one of those things though that's how people were with vintage gear. They weren't good at mixing the record the way they did it without that specific piece of expensive hardware, and we're just getting to the point where plugins actually are that good finally, as they should be. So I mean, no, I feel that I would be, dude, without all my plugins. I have so many third-party plugins that if I didn't have, I would be a completely different artist. Like, not even joking. It's like I wouldn't be making what I make without them. So
I mean, your style is like a Venn diagram of your tastes, your abilities, and your tools, right? Like,
whoa.
That's a really good way.
I need that on a poster, and I'm going to put it on a shirt, and then I'm going to maybe tattoo it, but we're going to start with a shirt. Yeah, I think it's because I love Venn diagrams. Like I'm just immediately like they make everything make sense for real.
Yeah, such a good immediate visual metaphor, just unmistakable.
Yeah. The crossover.
Yeah, I use them in my head all the time. Like two people are having an argument, and I listen to both sides, and I go, boom, like, okay, I see the part in the middle there, and I see where you're both hurt and trying to be right here on the outside.
That's beautiful, dude. That's actually wow. That's actually a really great way to use that. That was some like real magic, maybe even some NLP magic there.
Oh yeah, man. You know how we do. But yeah, man, anything you want to tell the people to look out for coming up?
Man, I guess that like if no one else is telling you all listening to this, you should probably just start releasing some music. Anyone listening to this, for real, like just get out there and and I think everybody probably as a producer should learn how to like at least try to sing and write. And then I think everyone that's writing and recording and thinks they're a vocalist should also learn how to produce. Those are like my two things that everybody should just do, because it's like we're there now. It's pretty easy to do either one if you really wanted to, and even if you don't want to do it professionally, it's just going to enlighten you to the other parts of the process. But yeah, that's it. And then much love for being here on the 100th episode, you guys. For real, last time was so beautiful, and then being here in Bend right now, writing some of the fucking sickest music of my life, like I owe it to all y'all. So I really appreciate that, for real.
Well, thanks for taking the time, man.
Can't wait to hear this stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, for real, y'all two artists that I like make sure to check when you guys are dropping stuff. So it's
ditto.
Like the combo, that Venn diagram. I'm ready.
That Venn diagram. No, it's the philosophy too. We'll be talking about stuff, and I'll be like, "Wow, he knows that too." Like we're actually in the same algorithm on YouTube, probably. So
yeah, exactly.
I feel that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's a related artist on my Spotify, or like fans also like. He's literally in that list of 20 people.
Yeah.
Shout out to Valiant also. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Much love, everybody, for real. You guys want? I can send you. I got some cookies and some chips. I can throw some through the webcam.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, man. I'm kind of hungry, actually, man. I'm out of groceries.
Yeah, me too, actually.
But
man, Boulder, for real. Have a safe flight, man. Have fun.
Yeah.
Enjoy that sun that you're gonna inevitably get there.
Yeah, for sure. Looking forward to that.
And say hi to Tesla for me.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll be hanging out with Tesla's ghost and
Zeus. Yeah, Tesla's ghost and Zeus.
I'll talk with Zeus about his proclivities.
Yeah,
hey man, down, man.
Yeah, tone it down, dude, and no more of that deceptive stuff. Okay?
Yeah, man, consent over everything.
Yeah,
but real quick, just remind the people how to find you on the internet.
So currently I am at Alter X Your X Ego at everything, all the things, or I'm Alter dot on Spotify and Apple Music and all those places. I might be rebranding someday soon, but you'll always be able to find me at those if you search that. That specific Alter X Your X Ego thing pulls me up pretty much anywhere.
And if you're listening to this and you haven't heard the man's music, go listen to it. God damn it! I'd be
Do yourself a favor.
I'd be fucking shocked if you don't like it.
I recommend V for My Vendetta as a first listen, and then follow it up maybe with like some Way in Life and Metaphysical.
There you go. You know what to do.
You know what to do.
Yeah, bud.
The Human Music Podcast. Not
just any human music podcast.
All right.
The one, the only. With Alter, episode 100, ladies and gents.
Word.
Yeah, so we give them a peace.
Peace, yo.
And peace among worlds. I mean, I'm rocking it today.
Hey, I love that.
All right, humans, deuces.
I like it.
All right, humans, thank y'all so much for being here with us and with Alter. Make sure you support our sponsors. That's Dojo TV, free producer live stream classes from the Producer Dojo Senseis, Tesco's Patreon, where you can get access to his Discord, track feedback, private lessons, and more. The weekly download, where you can learn from Ill Gates and his private weekly group lessons and get access to over 250 more episodes in the archive for just $20 a month. And guest practices, where you can learn from Seth Drake at the Approach Institute. He's the best engineer we know, and your first class is for free. The song of the week this week is Alter's V for My Vendetta. A lot of links down below for different places. Check that. And there's a complete Alter Spotify playlist with all his tunes. Very good stuff. And make sure to keep a lookout for the tunes he's going to be releasing with Rip Kenny at some point. I got to hear a little preview, some of the teasers they're working on right now, and they are sounding good. Next week, we'll be back with a very special guest, me. We're interviewing Luke Rain about my superhero origin story and such. So, figured we're past 100 episodes. It is time to interview us. It'll be an episode on me, and then we're going to interview Tesco and Rip Kenny too. So, make sure you guys are around for that. Until then, peace, humans, and peace among worlds. Woo! Break it out like Superman.